Ooh, camera angle is kooky. That's it. My garlic is fighting back. One of those days when the ingredients fight back against you. I don't know if that's worked. Cookie. Camera, sit, stay. Just a quick rough chop, in case anyone's there lurking in the background, wondering what we're doing. Prepping for tomorrow. Prep. Nothing like a bit of nonchalant. That's brilliant. Like that. I'm massively satisfied with the quality of that onion. No, actually, it's not looking a very good onion. Let's start. Unfortunately, onions are a particularly tricky beast. Howdy, hello Alice. How are you today? All well in your corner of the world? As the namesake would go, I hope you're having a hoot. All good? Super duper. Got out in the fresh air, the garden. What's been going on today? Har indeed. Excellent punnage going on in this little corner of the countryside. Much gardening and walking. Oh, lovely. Lovely. Well, it has become apparent that I must return back to my day job this evening. So rather than doing the curry, we're good. We're excellent. Early morning walk off into local countryside. Back in time for our day jobs. And oh gosh, this onion is stinging. Oh, that's powerful. Oh. But because we're going to need to go back to those day jobs later this evening, what we're going to do is start the marinade for the curry recipe and whip up a bit more of a, yes, don't cry, start playing emotional and dramatic music. I'm going to very quickly knock up an easier dinner tonight, and instead of following the recipe, I'm already going off piece with the recipe. I'm going to marinate it for a full 24 hours instead. I mean, I can only presume it will not cause it problems. If anything, perhaps it will improve it. So, plants looking happy? Aren't they just? Tropical background. So what we're doing at the moment is a garlic and lime balti, and I'm just starting the basis of the curry paste, which is relatively straightforward. It is just garlic and onions cooked down ever so slightly, and then we're going to put them in just a hand blender with the various ingredients to make a paste, and then that is going to go onto our chicken. But for tonight's dinner, it will be fine. Longer the better, really, for curry. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm following a specific recipe to make a very healthy, as you can tell, look, even here, look, suck in there, making a healthy version of a curry. I quite like garlic and lime as an idea. So we're going to give that a full 24 hours at least, I think. So instead, for dinner tonight, we're going to have a very straightforward affair of sausages, potatoes and beans. When in doubt, have something comforting and reassuring. So just off my stage left, pan of onions and garlic. Just reduce that down. So whilst I'm doing that, let's get dinner going. A tray here where I went shopping. Took the car off for a drive. And how is Mr. Penn, Alice? Is he keeping himself out of mischief? So this curry recipe, because I know I've got one provided by my mother, marvellous curry recipe, hard to beat, but this one is, say, garlic and lime, relatively straightforward, but the interesting thing is it's 223 calories, or kcal, per serving, which seems astronomically low to me. And yes, just about keeping out of mischief. That's about as good as we can all expect. In the world. Oh, that does remind me though, I need to actually warm the oven up, which would be a good idea. But I thought instead, because we're going to even try a new naan recipe, and because I haven't finished work yet, I realised that it was going to be fantastically late by the time we ate. So, well, no, to be fair, I didn't. Mrs. L spotted that fact, quite right. So, swapping out one dinner for the other seemed to make a lot of sense. And this is, as I say, quick and comforting. But I know, Alice, you and I have discussed it. The IKEA meatball recipe was tried the other night. I don't know if you were here to see it, but the meatballs have got a fatal flaw, I think, in the recipe, which is, sorry, just give these a shake. That the recipe just talks about couldn't manage. No, that's all right. Don't worry. It's the advantage of Twitch and YouTube. They're all saved if you ever want to go and watch them. If you want to skip past my blathering as well, if you go to the last 15 minutes, you'll see what happens. There we go. YouTube. That's just just don't worry. Don't worry at all. It's always nice just to have people come and join us whenever. But what we did was, having pulled them out, the meatballs themselves. Good gosh, I'm just being watched by a raven. Just eyeballing me through the window. Viewers from everywhere. No. Sorry, that was a really weird moment. That threw me off. I was going to grab the camera and go and show you, but he flew off just in time. So, sort of piercing the veil on one of our favourite meals. It's not actually potatoes and chips, this. It's closer to potatoes and wedges. So they're quite thick cut. Parboil them for about 15 minutes once they get going. And then a bit of oil, bit of seasoning, give them a right bash in the pan, and then In they go, 35 minutes, jobs are good. Simple, straightforward, tasty. Let's just give they're nicely browning. What was wrong with the meatballs? Sorry, yes, I got distracted, didn't I? By the raven staring at me. Well, they crumbled. That was the weird thing, is it just... The sauce recipe that IKEA gives out is absolutely spot on. It makes their gravy exactly. But the meatballs themselves would, even when you put them in the fridge for a while, they fell apart. They were brilliantly crumbly, if that's what you wanted from a meatball. But even the key ingredients were falling, like the onions, and what we're going to try when we do it again is, they say you've got to dice them up and then mix them together. And I think they've put diced when they meant to say blitzed. I think you've got to blitz all of the ingredients to get that texture that you get from an IKEA meatball. But quite fascinating, because the recipe they gave out was not the one that because of course I referred to my mother, who, when she knew I was doing this, kindly provided the recipe from a pack of IKEA sauce and said, you can now see if it's the same. And it wasn't. It's completely different. Loads of different ingredients in the packaged sauce, and the one we made up was perfect. It was absolutely spot on. Sorry, I've just got flocks of ravens sort of flying past me. Very strange. So, there we are. So let's get out our next key ingredient, if I haven't mistakenly. So, have I got any more vegetables to prep before I get on to meat? Nope, that's fine, that's fine. That's all our nice ingredients for our sauce, so I can get on to meat now. Right, okay, so sausages ready to go from our local butcher. Lovely chap. Oh, these are stuck together, hang on, it's just... I don't know I know Alice is a very accomplished butcher, she doesn't need to know, but for anyone that doesn't, if you ever have an odd moment from a butcher where they seem to have amalgamated into one, just twist. And she will get that the neat little separation between the two. Don't poke yourself in the finger like I just did with a knife, just gently cut. There. Easy. So we'll put them to one side, we don't need them just yet. Give our knife just a bit of a quick wash. There we are. So poor Mrs. Al still working as we speak, so it's almost going to be tag team, and I'll tag in later. She'll just carry on until some grubber-lub is ready. To be fair, it doesn't even say how long to cook these for. It's all softened. Oh, we're nearly there actually. In fact, I'd call that quite softened, so let's just tag them out, swap over the rings. So we'll pop them in just a moment. Let's prepare the chicken first, however. And I shall do the ducking down here without putting my face on camera, so... I am in fact just off screen. Woo. Quality primetime television there. Pyrex dish emerging from the underneath. Clatter, bang, wallop, my lords, my ladies. Right, just get rid of some of the excess fatty bits that we don't really want or need. Use the smallest knife we've got. Go for precision. Not my sharpest knife, and Mrs. Al would quite rightly point out about here, this is meant for vegetables, but it's quite good if you want precision as well. So Alice, what's on the cards for dinner for you tonight whilst we're getting our curry ready and together? Just no idea if this will help. Worth a shot. Just little scores along the chicken. See if we can rub the paste deep in once we've got it together. So let's get as much out of this chicken as we can. Just slice along fact, I'll just remove my hand so you can see I'm just slicing halfway there. Chicken with peaches, nutmeg and pasta. Ooh, very nice. In fact, for the first time recently, we were able to get fresh tagliatelle at the nearest supermarket, which is not near at all. But that sounds lovely. That sounds super. Right. So the idea of the recipe is to get as much out of it as you can. You can afford to pat that out. Just going to help this along. Getting ourselves as much bang for the buck as possible. Advantage as well of going to butchers is you can almost pick and choose your chickens. Well, I haven't got actually a lot that I want to. Speak of the devil, there's some. Get rid of that. That's a bit tough. Super. So the base of our marinade is nearly ready. Just going to let that cool down in the pan. That's so one. Oh, and as well, Alice, with the meatballs, if you fancy trying it, they make a huge quantity of meatballs. Admittedly, the actual quantities, even if they do need to be, the recipe needs to be tweaked. I think we made close to 50. So, in short, having met your children, that would do maybe 2 of them. I'm not being disparaging, they've just got good appetites. There we are, just lay one of those out. I'll just score it before And Mr. Nosler joins us. Hello, Mr. Nosler, we've got Alice here, and possibly other people in the background. How are you today? Tell you, there's an improvisation even of what we're doing tonight, as you can see. I was just saying to Alice, my day job is going to take me late into the evening, but I'm determined to do this. So we've changed our dinner plans. We're going to marinate this curry that we're doing, the garlic and lime balti. We're going to marinate it overnight instead of for an hour, and we're going to have a crack at this tomorrow instead. But at least now, because one of the difficulties with a marinade recipe is there are long gaps in between. So if I do it this way, you get to see the whole process. But are you well? Is Monday treating you kindly? I know you were saying you're slightly any appeal of being in isolation and lockdown was wearing off. Are you having a cheerier and better Monday? It's obviously cheerier and better for having you here. Alice, and of course, and anyone else that's quietly just watching the destruction of a piece of chicken. Yes, the sound noise is gloopy, or slappy, or sloppy, I don't know. So, I'm scoring the chicken as well, because I'd quite like as much of the paste. You need to get off. Leave you, Mr. Nosler. No problem, Alice. Have a marvellous evening. Give the best to Mr. Penn as well. Sure we'll see you again. Enjoy your lovely sounding dinner. Sounds tremendous, though. Chicken and peaches. Lovely. So, there we go. That's our chicken done. See you now, Alice. Have a lovely evening. Right, let's get you good. Monday, so it can never be too much fun. I can't lie, I found it very funny to see you'd forgotten the chicken. Yes. What do you need to make a chicken curry? Egg, face, much. I think's the short answer there. Oh dear me. I wouldn't have felt quite as bad if, for example, I'd forgotten, a spice or something, but chicken? Dear me. Dear. Well, I was once told, Mr. Noz, obviously, Monday is just a day of the week, and it is what we make of it. And often what we make of it is, oi. Well, hopefully, Monday is behind you now, so it can only get better. It can only get better. Tuesday is the day to be. Right. So what we're doing as well, you'll be pleased to know. Hang on. Sorry if I flash builder's bottom here. Oh. Reach into the cupboard of many tins. Find ourselves a very straightforward sausage, chip wedges, beans. So that's our dinner for tonight. So what we need to do now is move on to creating our marinade. So we have already softened up some onions, in fact caramelised them actually a little bit. We've got some cloves of garlic in there as well, as one might expect for a garlic and lime balti. So let's just start by breaking these down. Huzzah! Beans are finally made. Isn't this can't be the first time we've done beans? Surely not. Must admit, as a staple and reassuring meal goes, sausage, potato, beans. I know that we're cooking occasionally some clever stuff, but honestly, the basics really can just be the most fantastic. So yes, and it was Mrs. L that spotted we wouldn't be eating until, Ragnarok happened. So a very sensible idea just to change up the menu, change up the plans. I get 2 chats instead of 1. Good grief. You do surprise me. I absolutely believe you. I just can't believe this is the first time they've made an appearance. So there we go. Start breaking it down. Not too much, because now we can start to add in... Oh, hang on. Peeled... we need peeled and minced. Zest and juice of 2 limes. Right. Plus extra to serve. I don't have extra to serve, but let's just get our limes. There we go. So got 2 there. Zest and the juice. Right, okay. So as ever, avoid the pith. Don't take the pith. Unless you're in America, where you can plead the pith. I am perhaps now indeed taking the pith. Fat, is there a better way for me to do this? I think there is, thanks to a new purchase we made. Where is it? Hang on a sec. Where did I put that? Hang on. Oh no, actually that's going to create more mess than it's going to help. Right, let's just get a chalkboard out. We basically got ourselves a funnel, just to help with all the decanting and stuff of raw ingredients, but 1, I've misplaced it, 2, I'm just going to create more washing up when I can just do it over the chopping board I'm going to need in a minute. Is there any reason that Monday was bringing you down there, Mr. Nosler? Or is it just one of those, here's Monday again, when on earth is the lockdown going to end? Although we have got some exciting purchases. We've actually now finally settled upon, we have an air fryer that's going to be turning up soon, very soon in fact. We may put it on social media or come on here and show you for healthy snacks, help us out in these troubled times, not to put on too much of the old weight. Bought a coffee machine, been angling for one for a while. I've finally picked one I like the look of. Let's just do this down onto the chopping board. Air fryer incoming indeed. Oh, it's Cynical. Hello Cynical, how are you? Good to see you. Yes, I've forgotten the name of it already. And I tell you, but it's on my phone, and my phone is right there. Yes, it shall be arriving, I think, this week. Came recommended by the family, and I did a bit of research, and I rather like the model that we found. Also, a tip here for, and again, I didn't know this, I picked this up just by research. When you're using one of these, always push down. Don't do a like that, because it's only designed to go one way. So if you do it the other way, you just sort of blunting it really, not helping a great deal. Oh, sorry, I'm sizzling over here in the corner. Yes, you missed an odd moment as well just earlier on where I had literally just a raven, just not that window, there's one just there out of shot, and was just watching as we cooked, just sort of staring menacingly. A very odd moment. Just hard to motivate yourself to need to do what, yes, I know the feeling, Mr. Nos. It's tough, isn't it? It is really tough. So you're always welcome here to come and blow off steam. Tell us about your day. Won't tell you it's mad to not be feeling down, you know, it's hard times. But you can come in, we can make bad dad jokes, you can laugh at the man that says he'll make a chicken curry and forget to buy the chicken, which, you know, is quite frankly moronic. There we are. So, here we go, starting to make the base here. I'm alright, have the case of the Mondays as well. Oh, everyone's got a case of them, like, let's cheer ourselves up, huh? The greatest running joke possibly of the century is, you know, Donald Trump. He's in charge of America. I mean, it's astonishing. I'm not going to get political, but it's amazing, I think, because The Simpsons predicted it, I understand, the television show. Then again, it's no different. Boris Johnson is leading the UK. The world's gone mad, but we're all sane here. We'll all have fun. Tell you what, tell me, chaps, what's everyone having for dinner tonight whilst we're whipping this up? And I'll tell you in a moment, Cynical, what we're having, because obviously this is for tomorrow. Poor Mrs. Owl is somewhere still slaving away over her work, so I'm sure she's, maybe not a case of the Mondays, but maybe the case of the Monday afternoons where many requests for urgent work arrived, all at the same time. All as urgent as each other. What does one do in those situations? I have 5 tasks. They are all your top priority. Well, in that case, you don't understand mathematics. That cannot work. Let's just test our spuds. Let's see how we're getting along for tonight's dinner. Ooh. My phone just binged at me for no reason. Haven't thought that far ahead. Have to check what I have. I tell you what, you can tell us what you got in your fridge. So go on, I'll give you some ideas. Why not? You tell me what sort of things you fancy. So here we are. Here's our second line. Oh no, I'm about to make the same. You see, look, the same thing again. I forget the chicken. I come up with a good idea. Forget the good idea. I forgot I was cooking potatoes there for a second. All over the show. So I shall be picking up work again this evening, so I share and feel your pain. I'll check in a bit when I want to procrastinate from work. It's a good job. That's tactical thinking there. I like it. You've added in an extra layer there. So you've got time now, you've got time there, you know, things that can stay your mind away from work. And also, I found this as well, I'm sure lots of people have, is that you actually take fewer breaks and disconnect less from your work when you're at home. Because you haven't got the colleagues, you've not got the occasional boredom of whatever it is you're doing, and fancy go make a cup of coffee. You can sit down for hours at a time and just lose all track of time. I'm going to be preparing a chicken curry. Oh, a katsu curry. Oh, good show, Mr. Nosler. I'm a big fan of a katsu curry. I'm not going to do it live on stream because it's my younger brother's recipe, but he's done his own take, and it's all for him. I wouldn't take it and broadcast it, but I can't one-up it. It's an absolutely delicious recipe. But yes, massive fan of a katsu curry. And at least you, Mr. Nosler, have all the right ingredients. You're not here preparing for tomorrow because yesterday you forgot the primary ingredient. It's genius. Yes, and Dan, so what work is it at the moment, Cynical, if you feel like telling us, or would you rather just leave work behind? Just, again, if you've got a clean surface, this is fine, of course. Clean this before we started, otherwise, you know, maybe lose the bits that go over the edge. So, there we go. Distracted again, Cynical. I was going to tell you what we're having for dinner. We are having a very simple sausage, potatoes, beans. Job's a good one. Sometimes fancy cooking can, you know, it's all well and good, but sometimes you've just got to Go for something. I believe the phrase. Do you know? I can't use it on Twitch because it counts as swearing, but it's a basic, and then it's a female Labrador. I've heard the saying used on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Being of simple tastes. Or I've completely misconstrued, what that means, and I'm totally wrong and shouldn't be saying it at all. Sorry, I missed the question about work. Oh, and how will all the ingredients mesh? Or they're separate on each side? I'm doing two things at once. Oh, do you mean the sausage, the potato, and the beans? Oh, that's just yum. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make, I call them dipping chips, but they're actually closer to a wedge. In fact, let's bring it front and centre for a sec. Hang on. Swap that around. Let's get a heat-proof mat down. There. Right. Here comes the healthy bit, chaps. Apply oil of choice. We use groundnut. A healthy drizzle of that. Keep drizzling. It's not healthy at all, am I kidding? Generous amount of salt and pepper. And when I say generous, just keep cracking on. Bit of salt. Obviously go easy on the salt, not brilliantly good for you. I'm making a mess in a minute, so anything else will whip off there. And here we go. It's as though I knew I needed it. Paprika. Just a little bit. I don't normally do paprika, but I just fancied it. So I'll give it a little bit of heat. And then grab your oven gloves. And then bash the heck out of them. Produce a nice ASMR noise. Of course, the camera to go absolutely ballistic. There we go. So, pre-prepared oven tray. On the go. Just to get a nice even spread onto your tray. Avoid burning your finger like I just did. And then back they come for a second season. Generous with salt and pepper. No need to hold back on it. And that, as they say, is that. Straight into the oven, 35 minutes. And you will produce, I promise, a fantastic accompaniment that is soft on the inside, crisp on the outside. I have managed to set the timer wrong. 35 minutes. There we go. Give them a swap halfway through and you're away. Right, let's clear up. Get rid of some of the mess. So yes, the question, Cynical, was what does work entail? In fact, I don't think I've asked, and if you'd rather not talk about it, you'd rather talk about anything but work, or it's not important, you tell me that. I'm always curious what we're all up to, and bits and bobs. And as for what we're looking at, obviously we've got the potatoes stay nice and crisp, so they sit well with the beans, which make it just a nice sort of earthy, tomatoey nice side. And you can't really go wrong with sausages. This is the base of our curry for tomorrow. Oh, get rid of that. So, where's my chopping board? Here it is. Well, in a small kitchen, you wouldn't think I could lose so many things. So, we've done the zest of 2 pretty well. So, boring stuff. Boring stuff. Mechanical engineering for aerospace and defence. Phew! Blimey. Cynical. I don't know. If you consider that boring, What is it you consider exciting? That's an amazing sounding job title. Goodness gracious. I am impressed. Goodness gracious me. I was going to say, doesn't it, Mr. Nothing? That was stupendously modest. Oh, nothing much. I just, do mechanical engineering for an aerospace and defence company. Good grief. Exciting surface level, tedious any layer below that. Oh dear. Is it really? Oh, you crushed my hopes there. It sounds magnificent. It's like, what do I do? Death Star planner. Whoa, it's just... Well, I suppose actually that's possibly a bad example given... I imagine on a mechanical engineering point, anyone who sees the Death Star simply says, why did they leave an exposed exhaust point? It's like making the perfect fortress with a massive neon sign that says just boop that bit there, that'll sort it out. So here we are, so we're starting to, so that's actually already starting to form a paste quite nicely. So the next thing we'll do is start to, what tool is that? It looks like it does, it's fantastic. It's a, oh, Mr. Nosler, help me out. I only knew it as basically a hand blender, but apparently it has a proper name. And all it is, if you can see it there, it's just got 3 basic blades in it. Just clip it onto the top, pull, you've got an instant blending of your ingredients. That's what I thought I saw. Not sure on the name. It reminded you of a bay blade. Okay, well, I've got the box. If you're interested, and it's brilliant, it just says mini chopper here. It's clean eating. And I have to admit, of all the things, little gizmos I've bought recently, this is one that impresses me a lot, because we tried to do, Mr. Nosler will testify here, we're doing a bit of ice cream making, and the noise of the electronic one was just astonishingly loud, and not really that much help when you're asking people to say hello, stop on by, enjoy your company, and then promptly deafen them. Now, I needed some tomato puree. I've not got any. So we're just going to have to do without that, I think. Never mind, we'll make do. So we haven't got that, not got it, crack on. It's a great cooking tip, to be honest, for life there. If you don't have it, don't worry. So, we're going to use some of our turmeric powder. So we've got here 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric going in. Well, it's thinking about it, but it will go in. So look at it sternly, make it go in. Yes, I remember, excuse me, I just inhaled some turmeric, that was bad, silly. Also, this in recipe, by the way, chaps, whenever I will put some of these up. If people have ones that they see, what type of curry? Garlic and lime balti. Never made it before, Cynical. It's sorry, do you prefer Cynical or do you prefer waffle, by the way? What do you prefer as an abbreviation, or shall I say it all? It's a garlic and lime balti, and the thing is, and it's interesting, you can see here from my rotundness, I'm trying a no preference. Well, in that case, I don't find you cynical. I find you interesting and fascinating. So it's waffle. We're going to be waffle from now on. I like that. Waffle. And we're going to make waffle, by the way, which is in a cookbook somewhere around here. I'll find it in a minute. How are we doing on dinner? See, now I've got the interesting... Oh, here's our butcher's sausages. Here are the oven gloves that I shall use to not burn my hand. That rule, however, sadly does not apply when you don't have the chicken. Yep, I deserve that. That's absolutely true. Dear me. So, back to this. Garlic and lime balti, it's 223 calories a serving, which is mind-boggling to me. I don't quite understand how, except for the fact the recipe, there's not a great deal in it that's particularly unhealthy. But I suppose the great test will be in the taste. And now we've got a timer, chaps. I've got 29 minutes to pull this off before dinner must be served. So we're going to skip the coriander that's in this recipe. And if anyone, by the way, when you're watching this, you think, you know what, I'd like a crack at that. Al, give us the recipe. shout, and I will put together a recipe for you, and we'll tweak it, tailor it. You know, I'll tell you what I did put in, what I didn't put in, what you could put in instead. So on this one, we're skipping the coriander because Mrs. L, not a fan of coriander. I'm not really either, to be honest. You can sort of take it or leave it, really. But we do need cumin. Where's my cumin? That's garam masala. That's not going to help us. Where is my cumin gone? Short answer, it's at eye level, right in front of me. It's been a long day, chaps. I sympathise. I understand when you say it's, you know, Mondays are sometimes perilous things. Come on, cumin. Well, that's not half a teaspoon. I'll bash you with the end of the spoon. Oop, there we go. So, half teaspoon of cumin. What do you want next recipe? Garam masala. The thing I had a moment ago. There we go. And then half a teaspoon of this. That's a bit more than half a teaspoon. I do like garam masala, but we'll try and stick to the recipe as much as we can. So there's our garam masala. Then we want half a teaspoon of ground ginger. So we'll clear these away as we go. In fact, if you clearly I'm talking to folk that like their food, so I'm possibly teaching you to suck eggs. But one of the great things I think, if you're ever in doubt, just have a lot of spices on hand. Have a lot of seasoning. A lot can be turned and improved just by having the right seasoning, or even the wrong seasoning, and you just wing it and go for it. So now it says a quarter teaspoon of chili powder or to taste. Now, I think Mrs. Allen and I can stomach a bit more chili. I just need to bash with a spoon. But we're also fans of paprika. So I'm going to do half of the chili. And not to mention, we haven't even got to doing, because obviously everything COVID related happened and it made getting ingredients more difficult. But I don't know, are you chaps familiar with the hot wings challenge? Oh, that's too much paprika. Hang on, pack. There we go. So there we go, that's our paprika. And that, well, it suggests, oh, sea salt and black pepper. There we go. When in doubt, black pepper is always good. Curious, why does this need to be prepped beforehand? Does it need to sit sometime? It does. What happened, Waffle, was we had planned to do it tonight, then my day job took a galloping turn, and it meant that we got well past the time that this was meant to be in and marinating. And the Renan bread's going with this tomorrow. We're going to be back tomorrow to do this. So, the salt grinder's broken. Come on. Thank you. That's better. So we're going to do it tomorrow. And to be honest, and here we are just before we go, so you can see the lovely blend of ingredients. It won't hurt the chicken to marinate it for longer. It's one of those where, you know, it might stay the same. You know, it might infuse more. I've scored the chicken already, in the hopes that it'll infuse just that little bit more as we go along. I wish, however, I did have that tomato puree, but it seems to be out. So it normally would need to sit for an hour at least, and there we are. You can see a basic paste. So what we're going to do instead is giving it 24 full hours instead. I mean, you know, it should, I hope, produce something pretty darn tasty. Which I'll also, because I know Mrs. Al's got a massive day ahead of her tomorrow, it'd be quite nice to be able to whip out a really nice curry without much fuss, without much drama. And say hello to you chaps whilst we're at it. Produce a brand new naan recipe. This time we're using one. Actually, I've not even done the sniff test. Hang on. Well, I tell you what, it does smell nice. There's the wheezed up on the garlic as well, again, because I like it as a background note. I don't like it to come and smack me in the face. Same with truffle. I have a similar gripe with truffle. It's a lovely flavour, but if you give me too much of it, it's just, you're just blowing my head off with truffle. So here we are. I'm just, for the ease of washing up, nothing wrong with it. I've got 1 teaspoon and I'm just going to mix it in. Trying to get a nice even coating, and here we go. Here's the noise for you. Lovely. Sounds like something out of an Alien movie, doesn't it? Is that a facehugger coming towards me? Coming through the background. So there we go. Let's just get that nicely covered. Try and get a nice even spread. Get all of it with some on it. I'm going to give it one last gloopy. That's it. That's it. What cut of chicken? Honestly, this time, waffle. You see, caught me there. Waffle. We're going to go with waffle. I like waffle. I also love eating waffles. It also, again, explains the size around the middle. And here's a tip for life as well. If people say, oh, I've not got the right body shape, I've not got this, that, or the other. It's better to be a jolly fat man or jolly and fat woman who cannot be kidnapped than some thin, miserable so-and-so that the kidnappers are not going to want to really hang on to. Great. So, added a bit of salt, pepper on top. Question waffle. What was the cut of chicken? Chicken breast. I think, to be honest, you could use anything. This one recommends chicken breast, I suspect, to keep the calorie count down, which is the aim of the recipe. So, to be honest, if you had the money and you wanted to, you could do a chicken oyster. You could do, I would imagine, wings, maybe not. Thighs would be good. Particularly if you could get boneless thighs. Again, you want a meat that will try and get as much of the flavour in as possible. So you can mark the time, chaps. I think it's about 6 o'clock at least now. That's going in the fridge. That's going to sit for a full 24 hours. And then that's going to make the base of, key ingredient of our curry. If I can find room in the fridge, that is. Whoops. There we go. And do you know what? Frustratingly, I've just found the tomato puree, so I'm going to put that, I think, straight into the cooking tomorrow, rather than trying to get it all back in and blend it again. And not going to reverse the process now. Right. Okay. So that's one set of chicken prepped. That's a lot of mess made. So let's, as ever, clean up after ourselves. Oh, speaking of ingredients, one thing I like to have, and it's sometimes really nice to deploy, is just dried chilies. They just have a really nice kick to it. I've just suddenly seen these in the cupboard. Let's see if they're... So, particularly good for Chinese recipes, as I'm sure, Mr. Nosler, you know already, because you're doing obviously a katsu tonight. So just have a peel a little bit off there at the end. It's a taste that really gets you in the back of the throat, which I really quite like. And they get stronger the longer you leave them there. Wow! Goodness gracious me. Right. Let's have that to one side. But I mean, the nice thing is that for me, this involves two nice things I like doing. Talking to nice people and being in my kitchen. And I know Mrs. Al feels the same. We spent most of Sunday just doing large batch cooks for things for the week. So we've got all sorts in the fridge at the moment. We've got, do you know what the heck? Let's bring them out. Hang on, I've got a minute before I need to move on to the next stage. Hang about. So what have we got? Let's have a look. We've got ourselves a really lovely, appreciate it, it may not translate to camera, and also my little light thing is switched off, so the lighting's not as brilliant this evening. But it's a simple lentil, onion and celery, seasoned well. It is warming, it's hearty, it's delicious. It's our version on chili con carne. At last, Joe, hello, you've made it as well. How are you? Are you having a better Monday than everyone else is? We're here to cheer everyone up who's not having a good Monday. We've got Waffle, we've got Mrs. Nosler, we've had Alice Penn, she's had to head off. And I'm now demonstrating curry. Curry. Oh, it's a long day. Chili. We're making the base of a curry. Ours is a bit different because it's very, very... very beefy, this one. We ditched most of the tomato, heavy on the beef flavouring. So you've got beef and heat and kidney beans and more beef you can get. Serve it with a cold salad or item of your choice. Giardiniera, for example, which is still going down a treat. Because we've still got... I appreciate, Waffle, this may have been before we had the pleasure of your company, but one thing we do as well is to pickle and preserve. So, for example, I've not had these for a while, but we've got our giardiniera, which is the Italian pickle. That's going down very well, by the way. That, I think, if you chaps ever want to try something basic, just to get you going on the whole pickling and fermenting thing, and that you can eat like crazy, can't recommend this enough. It is light, tangy, it's got a fantastic chili kick every time I open this up. And what's quite nice as well is if you've got lots of vegetables going a little bit towards their best before, it works well. So fish and Wi-Fi disasters. Joe, what's been going on? Has the fish interfered with the Wi-Fi? It's intrepid fish. Goodness gracious. So yes, thoroughly recommend this. You mentioned that previously. Not a fan of pickles. Preserves are great. Well, do we have any preserves? Well, to be honest, we've got the jam, the unholy jam concoction, which is actually concrete. Apart from that, we've got... this is interesting, actually. I'm tempted to open this one because it illustrates possibly one of the problems that you get with preserving. I don't know if you can see, but you see the colour here is quite dark red. As you get closer to the top here of this jar, that I haven't opened yet and I'm not going to, it looks to me like it's black. It could be that air has got in here and it's no longer any good. But I'm not ready to open a new jar yet, so I might do that tomorrow. We'll get a litmus paper and I'll show you one of the sort of the pitfalls, because you've got to make sure that it's still all right, and if it's not, don't risk your health on it. I appreciate it sounds wasteful, but when you risk things like botulism and things like that, it's just not worth it. And here we've done the same with radishes. They all add a fantastic kick to anything you're eating, so I'll probably break these out to test them alongside the curry when it comes along. But in terms of preserves, and this is for you, Waffle, here is the next jar of jam. And when I say impenetrable, I shall now demonstrate. I'm not going to mince about with this, but ready? It just won't go in. It's tasty as anything, but it could also double up as a weapon or filling in for your bricks. I mean, if I just use two... Enjoy. Insurmountable member. Insurmountable. Hang on. Come on, get out. Come on. Got that much. Enjoy it in small amount. The reason we did this one as well is because Mrs. Al really wanted to do a fig. What went wrong or right? Good question. Mrs. Al wanted to do a fig jam, and I wanted to do as well when she described it. But because of the whole COVID problem, we couldn't get fresh figs. Now, I made the mistake of saying, well, what the heck, we'll wing it, and got anti-gloop. Yeah, quite right, Mr. Doss, it's the anti-gloop. So we got dried ones, but unbeknownst to me, because I don't often, this is a new experiment, it was already very sweet. Now, what I want to do effectively do is ease back on the sweetener, ease back on the temperature, basically ease back on everything. I didn't know that. So what I did was I did it for far too long, far too hot, and we didn't at the time have one of these, which we now do, which is a jam thermometer. So now, instead of running into the problem where I was basically all the way up the top, and I needed to be, in effect, there in terms of temperature. We were looking for about 100 degrees, no more, 220 if you do Fahrenheit. So we're going to give it another crack in due course, but taste-wise, it will sew your lips together in a very tasty fashion. It is, however, I would say even for someone like me, I quite like sweet things in small amount, but that is eye-wateringly sweet because it was the dried figs, not the fresh ones. But as with all these recipes, we're going to give it another go because we don't give up at the first sign of trouble. Not in this little corner of Twitch. We say hello to everybody. We cheer each other on when our Mondays are questionable and difficult. We're all here for each other. It'll all be fine. Speaking of which, let's see how... In fact, do you know what? Let's do it again, shall we, chaps? Oven side view. Here we are. So, as you can probably see, I've got some ways to go yet. In fact, it probably isn't 13 minutes to go yet, which is what it says we're at. So I'll pop you back there. Let's just crack that time up a little bit. So yes, so now that's the plan. We're going to do the, in fact, whilst you're here, I've got the recipe book, because I mentioned in passing when I went over to Waffle to see his corner of Twitch, and Joe and Mr. Nosler, if you ever see him on, it's always a good fun. I've been across friendly, lovely people. But we were just talking about foods coming up, and I mentioned that one of these new books, I got this healthier book, included an intriguing recipe for a waffle of low calorie count, and I've just recently come into ownership of a toasty / waffle maker. So it seems like it's a match made for us all. Except I've just asked it where waffles are in this book and it's not told me. Frosty waffle. Thank you, that's better, of course. So, for example, you've got a waffle made with the basic of potato, spring onion and asparagus spears. That's it. These are the first steps to Willy Wonka's edible room, sugar malt. Damn it, Joe, you've cracked my secret identity. How did you know? I'm going to have to start all over again with a brand new name. I was too Wonka-like. Oh, goodness. Very good. Right, so, we're going to see how we get along. So, hopefully you chaps are enjoying everything. Have you got any suggestions for things you'd like to see? Waffle with asparagus and potato. Yes, it's a potato waffle. Using, hang on, where's the machine gun? What is it? So basically what we're talking about is creating the basics for waffle, sticking it in our press with the appropriate grills. This is interesting, waffle, because I'm talking, of course, about a savoury waffle. Because I mean, we can also do sweet ones in theory. Is that where your mind went to? Is this perhaps a British UK, we're used to waffles being a potato savoury? I must admit, I recall with some pleasure the one time that I tried American pancakes, and I went the full way with an American pancake. I added things like ice cream and bacon and nearly gave myself a heart attack, but it was quite fun in the process. There we go. So amongst other, I mean, on the computer front, we're still working on that because it seems that my day job keeps interfering, possibly, I'm not sure. I don't know the waffle base of the waffles I've eaten. Interesting. Okay. So, yeah, so in terms of the food stuff is ticking along quite nicely. The computer I'm still having to tweak and fiddle with because it's a little bit out of my technological remit. I'm still in the age of the quill and the paper, and I'm being brought rapidly into the 21st century. So we're still working on that. But apart from that, the food is ticking along nicely, coming up with some new ideas as well. I did wonder about, because Mrs. Al and I, in fact, I'm going to do this bit where I disappear down here for a second and don't show you my face. Hang on. So I had contemplated, because we had a meal the other day, which is in your standard sort of nice tins here, and it was the hash brown that we did. And it got me to thinking whether or not there was some scope if I found various recipes where we could find a healthy version of the recipe and then make an unhealthy version of the recipe and see which one we prefer. Because there's always this big thing about, what's it called? Dirty eating or something, or I forgot the name. It's basically where they basically stick chili on everything, or melted cheese on anything left, right and centre. I'm fairly sure it's called a dirty whatever, burger, tacos, or whatever. And I'm wrecking the place and making noise. I don't think they're all that they're cracked up to be, if I'm honest. Once or twice, I found it to be quite a tasty affair. But apart from that, I just tend to find the healthier one suits me better. I don't know, what do you think, chaps? Let's get these out of the way. Whoops, easy. So, barring any misadventure, I like the idea of testing healthy versus not good. I mean, this is I'm open to, and I honestly I did like it, and I think it was. And sorry, I know, chaps, you almost come as a package, you two, Joe and Mr. Nosler. I think it was you, Mr. Nosler, who said, when we were joined so happily by Waffle and the raid that was recently, that it's like we've got two chefs here, and you chaps are and you chaps and you ladies out there are the sous chefs. And I rather like that, because, I mean, obviously, yes, we've still got to eat everything we make. We're not going to make things that we won't eat, because that's just throwing money away, and I don't think any of us could do that. But I like the notion, if people have got ideas, I like to hear them. I really do. So I've got tons of, recipe books out there, but people may eat something that I'll never encounter, or Mrs. Howell will never encounter, and it just kind of sparks a new and original idea. So, yeah, absolutely. So say, for example, hang on, I've got 9 minutes until these beans need to be ready. That's more than enough, and Joe and Mr. Nosler can finally see some beans on this stream. I can't believe this is the first time, I really can't. But oh, by the way, in case anyone wants, I don't hide what we use. This is one I bought recently. It's called Pinch of Nom. Lovely name. And it's got these low-calorie recipes. But Mrs. Howell's great at following recipes. I instantly want to sort of mess and fiddle with it. So, for example, here they've got one which we tried recently, which is, I shall hold it there. It's a hash brown breakfast bake. Now, obviously, that's very, very healthy on this recipe. It's 189 calories a serving. There's not a great deal to it. You've got onions, bacon medallions, mushrooms, Worcestershire sauce, and a tin of baked beans. But if you wanted to make an unhealthy version of it, there are endless ways you can do it. The obvious instant one that comes to mind is mixing in maybe some Parmesan, or a mild cheddar, or maybe you could throw in there as well chorizo with the onion cooking, so that the chorizo oils escape out, give it a bit more punch in the bottom base of the flavour, so you've got that sort of that lovely undertone of the oil. You could throw anything in theory. I mean, I don't think this you'd go for guacamole, but it's a possibility. You could even swap out the beans for beans in the chili we make, for example, because the chili's not exactly healthy. It's not bad for you, but it's not the best for you. So I think there's plenty of scope for it. And I thought that would sit quite nicely with the idea of maybe sitting down sometime with the recipe books and saying, well, here's what we've got. Let's sit and have a cup of tea. And we can all mull over our various ideas, and we'll have ideas. Here, chaps, here is the moment for you. The first time the tin is opened on live stream. That's a good sounding noise, isn't it? There we go. Happy days. Ms. Waffle, in case you don't know, Joe and Mr. Nosler are firm proponents that the one and only bean to be used in the world is this one. We'll start, quite frankly, revolution, if anyone says otherwise. Oop. Never mind. Here we go. A little bit of centrifugal force. Or if in doubt, we're going to want an implement here. Here we go. Cannot waste these, of course. There we are. So I mean, again, the nice thing about cooking is that you can really experiment and play with it once you've got the basics of a recipe. I don't recall the beans I usually buy, but it's not these. I'll have to give them a try. You'll find a lot of people here at Waffle can thoroughly recommend them to you. In fact, we can even pitch you into another debate, where currently the odds are, I think, when we last checked, 3 against 1. Are you for or are you against the long Lord of the Rings films? Let's see where do you come down on this? I'll be very interested to see. In fact, I think I may just... In fact, it's cooking very slowly today. I don't know why. 2 minutes. Normally they're done by now, if I'm honest. Go. So there we go. I mean, I don't know what everyone's experience is with the whole sort of dirty food eating, but for me it seems almost a cheat, because the answer always seems to be put cheese on it. Is the question about their content or length? Fine with the long, lengthy movies, so long as they're not drawn out. Interesting, you're not quite... What we found, Waffle, is that I think everyone but me was a fan of Lord of the Rings. And I'm sat in the minority. But even I had to concede that, I think logistical difficulties with the Hobbit movie being perhaps a bit longer than it should have been. Perhaps. Anyway, right. Whilst we're here, let us demonstrate some cooking happening. And this really, Joe, Mr. Nosler, this is all for you here, chaps. Some close-up bean cooking action. It's long overdue. Here we are. Oh, I tell you what, that chili's still kicking me in the throat. Ooh. The other way around, we don't like them. And yes, pretty much. I mean, I really like the films. I can put up with their length. I don't know if I've got time now, because obviously I'm much older, and clearly tonight's show's work will keep me from doing most of anything that I had planned to do. So I couldn't, for example, sit and watch them all back to back or anything like that. I know I did once when I was younger with some now long distant friends. But I couldn't do it again, I don't think. And interesting, it raised another question as well, because I think most people would say, for example, if you had to pick what was better, the movie or the book, and if I had to pick, I'd pick the books. I think I'd pick the books every time, actually. Oops, easy. There we are. So, what the plan is, gents, as well, I think we're coming towards the end of the stream now, because the food will be ready and poor Mrs. Howell's dinner will be with her soon. I've got to make a phone call I know about tomorrow. There's only so much justice a movie can do in the allotted time. That's fair. I think one thing that always surprised me is the things that they chose not to include, which I suppose because I like the books, you think, oh, go on, you really want to put that in? You know you do. Trade it out for something else. Then again, I suppose it is also incredibly difficult for movie directors to decide what stays in and what goes. It must be quite a hard and harsh cutting process. So, with the few minutes we've got left before Mrs. L's dinner and I's ready, what we're going to do tomorrow is I have a phone call I know I have to make at 6 o'clock here in UK's local time. So I'm thinking probably about 7 o'clock we will come on. The chicken will be nicely marinated. There won't be a great deal to do chicken wise. I will have already prepared in advance the dough for the naans that we're going to try, because that's also got to prove for about an hour. So I mean, otherwise we just sort of end up sat and watching, literally watching dough rise. It's also going to be quite a tricky one as well, so if it doesn't quite go to plan, we might abort and just see what the curry's like. So that's current thinking. Being on at about 7 o'clock time here in the UK. I'll obviously send something out on the old social media, which I'm slowly getting to grips with. There we are. Again, this is almost beam pornography for Joe and Mr. Nosler. There we are. But I gave an example. I found the scenes in The Hobbit where it's Billy Connolly and the dwarves facing off against each other. And that's so funny. I was nearly wet myself laughing. I was just thinking, why is that not in? That's a great moment. I suppose also I'm something of a fan of Billy Connolly. And he does have a tendency to hit me on the tickle bone. Right, folks, great. I mean, this is the future of television. I'm going to leave you with these beans for just a few moments while I let Mrs. Allen know her dinner will soon be ready. So, bear with me just a moment. And here we are again, chaps. Lovely, shall we? I think that will do for Beanscapade. They're nearly ready. Right. But I do hope, Mr. Nosler, you enjoy your Wagamama. In fact, yeah, I think I may have the same book actually. Hang on. There's not Ways with Noodles. So this is what Mr. Nosler is having this evening. Where's the cat soup? It's well thumbed here. Various bits and pieces on the index. Where are we? My favourite, I have to admit, is still the char han, however, and you can still get that, but it's on the kids menu. So I tend to order 2 in a bowl and say, "Can I just give me all the char han you can give me, please?" Now, where did they have cats in here? Am I going to be able to find it in time? It's clearly been a while since I've opened this, because I could have sworn there was an index, but I must be misremembering. There is, however, char han, in case you chaps are interested. If you got the same one as me and Mr. Nosler, it's page 67. And it's a cracking recipe. It's an absolute winner. How fascinating. The book I've got is not the one with katsu. Oops. Turn the beans down. Oh, how interesting. There we go. Learn something new every day. So here we are. Time for our big reveal. Let's see how our favourite potatoes have got on. Let's get the beans off. They're ready. We may have different versions. I do have another one. I'll check it later. But that one is Ways with Noodles, and I rather suspect the katsu won't be in a noodle one. Here we go. Lovely. Ooh, steamy. Right, I'll leave the sausages in there. They've got a bit further to go. There we go. That's what we're talking about. So you got your nice. They promise they look burnt, but they're not actually. So you can probably hear it here. That nice crisp outer edge. If you cut into them, you've got a beautifully soft interior. There we go. These are incredibly hot, but thankfully got quite asbestos-y fingers. Perfect. Lovely. Right, gents, it's been a pleasure as ever chatting with you. I hope we've been able to brighten up your Monday just a little bit. I shall try and continue the same. We'll brighten Tuesday as well whilst we're at it. So all the best with your various works, your dinners. I hope you have a lovely evening that picks up if your Monday has been a bit blue. and we will see you tomorrow for the making of the curry and the making of the naans. So all the best. Have a marvellous, marvellous evening. You too, Waffle. Have a brilliant dinner yourself when you get there, whatever you're going to have. You too, Mr. Nosler, and you, Joe. Anyone in the background, have a brilliant Monday evening. And we're going to see you for an even better Tuesday. So, see you then, folks. All the best from me. And Mrs. Owl, I know she's upstairs working. She'd want to say the same. We will see you tomorrow. Be about 7, not 6, because I've got a phone call I've got to make at 6. So, all the best, folks. See you tomorrow. That is, if I can turn off the phone. It's clearly a Monday.